delighted to welcome you to the 21st edition of the World Sustainable Development Summit. I am the MC for this session, and my name is Sangeeta Badwari. The special session is dedicated to our founder leader, Dr. RK Pachauri. The session will be chaired by Mr. Nitin Desai, Chairman TERI. We shall be hearing some reflections by family members, colleagues, and friends. Dr. Saroj Pachauri, Senior Public Health Professional, Dr. Ash Pachuari, co-founder and senior mentor of the hip-hop movement, Dr. Mark McQuiston, partner, co-founder, and director, Diversified Credit Investments, San Francisco, Mr. Rakesh Kakkar, President, TERI Alumni Association, and Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General, TERI. It is now my privilege to invite the chair, Mr. Nitin Desai. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Anita. Let me say this is one of the most delightful, important sessions of our World Sustainable Development Summit, because what we will be doing is remembering the founder of this summit and the founder of the organization, builder of the organization which runs this summit. So I'm really happy that Dr. Saroj Pachauri is with us, that Ash Pachuari is also with us, and I look forward to hearing them also. And I'm glad that Rakesh Kakkar is also joined us, because the Alumni Association of TERI has taken a great lead in preparing the document that we will be releasing today. I met Dr. Pachauri a long time ago. He was at that time still in Hyderabad, in ASCI, and I was in the planning commission in the government of India. But I really got to know him better after he moved to Delhi and started as a founder director of TERI. And our relationship really thickened greatly after he got involved in the international dimension of climate action when he took over as the chairman of IPCC. And after I retired from the UN, he roped me into the work of TERI. And I must say, I gained a lot by being associated with TERI since I left the UN. Dr. Pachauri in many ways represented that integration of talents, of disciplines that we require for sustainable development. He started life as an engineer. He was what we call a Jimmy boy, because he was an engineer to start with. He became an economist and later an environmentalist. And in many ways, these three things are what we need to bring together. Engineering, or technology, if you like, economics, and ecology. It's the attempt to integrate these things into unified approaches to policy, to programs, to action at the ground level, which is what is very necessary. And it's very valuable for TERI that its founder director in many ways incorporated all the three disciplines in his own personality. And we see this in the way in which TERI was built up, the sheer range of things that TERI does now, ranging from hard scientific research to technological developments, to policy advocacy, to very complex modeling and projections and things of this sort. And the scale at which it operates is the largest organization of its kind in India today. And it's something which is also a major presence, has a major presence at the international level. So I would say that basically Dr. Pachauri has to be given a credit, not just for building TERI, but for making the world a little bit more conscious of climate. I particularly remember after he took over as IPCC. IPCC used to be run as a very scientific type organization with scientists talking with each other. One of the things Patchy did, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind my calling him Patchy, but one of the things Patchy did when he took over as the chair of IPCC was to recognize that reaching out to people outside the scientific community was absolutely essential if he wanted to have action on climate. And this is what he did with very successfully. And in fact, if you see when the work of IPCC really starts hitting the political agenda of countries, it is really after Dr. Pachauri took over. So it is truly valuable that today we are going to be celebrating his great achievements in many different ways. And one of the ways will be this book of Dr. Pachauri as a crusader against climate change. And if you see this book, I'm sure some of you have seen it, and you see the range of people who have written in this book, the sheer number of people from how many different countries, from how many different disciplines. And that is a reflection of how effective he was in bringing together people from many different disciplines into a much more unified approach to the whole challenges of sustainable development. We will also be doing something to preserve the work that he himself has done in the archives. And this is what today this session is for, to remember Dr. Pachauri and to put all of his work before the world and make it available for all of the people, the younger people who will be working and trying to advance the causes that he worked for so wonderfully throughout his life. So with this, let me stop. And once again, I would say that I really welcome Dr. Saroj Pachauri and Ash Pachuari to this session. And with this, may I now suggest to the organizers that we launch the book and the website, which is going to contain Dr. Pachauri's works. Thank you. Thank you very much. Saita, over to you. You're muted.
Thank you so much, sir, for your address. We would like to launch the book now. I think can request all of you to just hold the book and so that everybody can see in your hands. Yes, sir. It's a delightful moment. Thank you so much. May I now request Dr. Saroj Pachauri to share a few words.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta. Mr. Nitin Desai, Chairman of the Governing Council of TERI, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General TERI, Mark McQuiston, and friends. I feel truly honored to be here today at this function, at this book launch, which is a very proud moment for me. And I just wanted to say that, as you probably all know, this is the second book that is being launched. The first book was also prepared by TERI, and in that book, the tributes were given by all the family in TERI. The Patchy's TERI family, which was very, very close to him, they had written the tributes and the testimonials. And that was a magnificent volume. In fact, it is a beautiful volume and very successful. And as a result of the success of this, the second volume was then begun, which we are dealing with today. In this volume, it's Patchy's larger family, his worldwide family, his global family that has provided tributes, more than 200 of them in this one volume. And when I started reading these tributes, I was so touched. I was so emotional about it because the people, his friends and his colleagues who had written about him, so honest, so sincere, and it was really heartwarming to read them. And as I read them, I thought it would be perhaps a befitting time at this occasion to share some of them with you. So, what I propose to do is to actually read out a few excerpts from a few of these I've selected and just share these verbatim. I'll just read them out verbatim for you. So, the first one is by Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General, United Nations. Ban Ki-moon wrote an essay, actually. His tribute was in the form of an essay for Dr. Pachauri. He said, during my 10 years as Secretary General of the United Nations, I was incredibly fortunate to meet and work with so many talented leaders all around the world. Notable among them was late Dr. RK Pachauri, who stands out and is still within my memory. Indeed, he was one of the most passionate, vocal, and persuasive proponents for raising awareness and advancing the global fight against climate change. I am of the view that he was one of the most important global leaders in the fight against climate change this world has ever seen. I am lucky to have counted Dr. Pachauri not only as a colleague, but also as a friend. As a private citizen, I shared a memorable dinner with Dr. Pachauri on July 10, 2018 in Singapore. At this dinner, with him, I promised him that I would participate in one of the upcoming conferences that he was planning to organize on climate issues. Unfortunately, I did not have the faintest idea that he would leave the earth that he held so dear so soon, and that it would be the last time I ever saw him. The next one is from Professor Professor Naki, who is the former deputy director of IASA in Vienna, Austria. Professor Naki spoke of Patchy's work on lighting a billion lives. This aimed to provide clean, affordable, renewable energy in rural areas. This initiative has attracted the private sector and has been deployed across India and many other developing countries. Professor Naki says Patchy was a humble person. He says we organized the IPCC authors meet at IASA, and it was Patchy's duty to open the event. He said in his opening remarks, IASA is one of the leading institutions of the world, and he had hoped to be able to join IASA, but did not have the kind of academic achievements to qualify. He said that he was delighted that his daughter Shunali did qualify, so he is proud that at least one of the family members had such high academic achievements. So this is what Dr. Naki writes. The next one I'm going to read is by the former Premier of South Australia. This is the former Premier of South Australia. He writes, "The Patchy I knew," he wrote, "I was shocked by the news of the death of a man who will one day be recognized more fully than he is now for his tireless efforts to prevent a climate disaster for humanity. Patchy was in a race against time in more ways than one. Most importantly, he was increasingly engaged with young people. Through the pop movement, Protect Our Planet movement, Patchy wanted to work with young people. He was a celebrated expert. They admired him because he did not talk down to them. He listened to young people and was building a bridge between generations to avert future disasters. Al Gore said that after Patchy's death, his dedication is to advance science and raise global awareness of the climate change crisis will endure. Yes, Al Gore was right. His work will endure. Patchy will also live on through the love of his family and his work and the work of his children, through TERI and through the pop movement, as well as the countless friends and colleagues he inspired. The next one is from John Vidal, who's the environmental editor of The Guardian. He writes, "We met in a pub in London. I was expecting at most 15 minutes, but he gave myself and my colleague 1 hour. Patchy came from a romantic tradition of honorable leaders of both the arts and the sciences. I feel privileged to have met him and known him, and to have appreciated the work he completed over his lifetime. I only wish I had played cricket with him. As you know, cricket was a great passion for Pachi, and every Saturday he was on the cricket ground if he was in Delhi playing cricket. He loved cricket. The next one is from Erik Solheim, who is the Minister for Environment in Norway. He says, I first met Pachi when he came to Oslo to receive the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of IPCC. As a new Minister of Environment in Norway, I was looking for people who I could bind with and who could inspire ordinary citizens. He says, Pachi was my man. The whole world is one family, Pachi appealed in his acceptance speech in our spectacular town hall. These beautiful words from the Upanishad touched us all. Pachi was Indian but a world citizen. From 2000 to 2015, Pachi led IPCC. He not only led, he was IPCC. He filled every room he entered. He infused any group he spoke to. He got leaders of business and politics to understand climate science. He was a great translator of science, making it intelligible for everyone. And the last one I'm going to read is Terry Temmerman, former Secretary of California Environment Protection Agency. He writes, when I started thinking about the many ways to pay a tribute to my late friend Pachi, I kept wishing I could say these things to him personally. So I decided to do just that, write to my friend and make a letter public so as to share my memories and sentiments with all of you. So he writes, Dear Pachi, this is the letter. Where does time go? It's been a very long year since you left us, and so much has happened. Many things that would warm your heart, and way too many things that would cause you grief. To celebrate the good and the bad in perspective, I wish I could hear your voice again, share a laughter and an adult beverage with you. Try together the loss of human humanities in the crushing pandemic, the one called COVID and the other called climate change. Pachi, I do want you to know that your influence and accomplishments have built a very solid foundation worldwide for the rest of us to continue your great work. We will win the battle to restore our planet. We will create a world where everyone is empowered. We will remember to laugh along the way and dip naan in spicy sauces around shared tables. And I will always think of you as waiting for my call or email, probably in a transit lounge of some far flung airport, ready to give me advice, encouragement, scolding, a story, or to volunteer for yet another thankless task for furtherance of your mission, helping people live better lives even though they will never know what you did for them. Thank you, my friend. Much love. Well, I just wanted to share a few of these with you because I think it also gives a sneak peek into the book. It's wonderful to read them. I would strongly encourage that everybody read this volume. It's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We would like to express our gratitude for your treasured address. May I now request Dr. Ash Pachauri to share a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to convey my gratitude to Dr. Vibhadhavan, Dr. Rakesh Kakkar, and to Raviji, and to everybody who's been part of putting together this beautiful, beautiful volume. It's you know, I and Yatinji as well, and the whole team. I just want to say that there's been so much love and passion in thinking through the title, thinking through what the design of the book should be, just every detail. And I think each of those conversations, each of those deliberations was such a great honor to Dad. And I cannot even begin to thank the many friends and beautiful global family that Dad has continues to surround himself with, even today, who've shared whispers from their hearts, who shared so many beautiful stories. We've only just received a glimpse of a few.
Very true.
And you know, the process of reaching out to each one of you, the love and enthusiasm with which you very quickly came back to say you'd love to share a few words and a tribute to Dad, live in my heart every single day of my life. I don't think that thank you quite does it. It doesn't begin to convey the half of what it really means to me. And then putting pen to paper and compiling this beautiful volume, which will live forever. And I know we've all had the good fortune of experiencing that, you know, love, the passion, the funny side, the drive, you know, and the relentlessness that Dad was all about, you know, in his work. Yeah, we've all had a chance to to be a part of his life in all of these dimensions and then some more. And all I want to say is that this is one more step to keeping that alive, and let it be eternal. And let's continue our journey, the path he's put us on, to protect our planet, to spread that love, to keep that global family together. I think that's a great honor that we can share with Dad. I have to be honest. I know it's been almost a year or so since we've been putting this together, or several months. And every piece of communication with every author has meant the world to me, because in some way or the other, I've been reconnected to Dad in a very, very precious way. I still haven't mustered the courage to pick up the book and read it. I will, but I just want to say that I feel with every part of me the love and the devotion to Dad that everybody's shared here. Your words mean everything, but I know the values Dad has shared with all of us will live on. And I'm just going to say, let's continue to stay close, hold hands, and take his vision forward. I know together as a global family, we will do it. And I know he believes in it. Let's honor him with that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your touching and emotional thoughts. May I now request for the video message by Dr. Mark McQuiston, please.
To reflect back on how I first met your dad. It was our mutual friend Ramanathan who provided the introduction, and on the very first occasion that we met in person, Pachi came to our came to our apartment in San Francisco. And we had a long chat, and then we proceeded to go to have dinner at a local restaurant, the three of us. And who should be seated at an adjacent table but Governor Jerry Brown, who both Pachi and Ram knew. We were having basically about global warming and the cause of global warming, namely CO2 in the atmosphere, and what can be done about it. And here we are, I don't even know how many years later this is. It must be, I don't know, 7 or 8 years later, maybe, some number like that. And the world is still pondering, or not enough of the world, but some of the world is still pondering, what are we going to do with 418 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere when it only needs to have, not only needs to have, but it naturally has about 300. So that whole that whole puzzle, so to speak, is a puzzle that I think that the young people are going to have to deal with more than their adults. Now, of course, it would be very nice if the adults would pick up the ball, but I'm confident that the kids have an opportunity to transcend their parents, or let me say, transcend their elders in setting the pace for that change. So anyway, Pachi and I had a lot of conversation about that subject over the course of and we had a lot of meetings over the course of about 3 or 4 years. And then, of course, I forget how long ago we lost him, but he's been gone 2 or 3 years now.
Two years next month. 2 years in February. Yes.
Yeah. So I still have a lot of dealings with Scripps, Institution of Oceanography, and Ramanathan, and we still talk about Pachi, because at the IPCC, Pachi was trying to lead the world to realize what was going on. And he did about as good a job as is possible, given the nature of the inbred political system in the world and its general lack of consciousness. He was a get your attention looking human being to begin with. And then when he opened his mouth and began to talk about whatever it was on his mind, he was always had distinguishing things to say, crisp and to the point. He was not one to mince words. And I really admire the clarity of thought and the clarity of exposition. And he was a model of that idea. In fact, I think probably not that many people realize the profundity of his always abbreviated commentary. You have to reflect on what he was saying. He was an amazingly highly respected human being by the top academics in energy space. His middle name was Energy, and he exuded it. He was amazing. It was such a privilege to know him. The problem, and I dare say that he did, actually, because he will be remembered. He was one of the leaders of the movement away from fossil fuels and the movement, the movement toward greater decentralization, which really means private markets rather than centralized decision making. The more diffuse the responsibility, the greater the chance of innovation, and lots of innovation, which is what we're going to need to get ourselves out from under this cloud. But anyway, I have such a fond memory of Pachi. He was one of a kind, and he looked the part. I always loved that part about him. He it's like he took his sincere pills every morning. It was amazing how he came across. So I benefited a lot from my periodic interaction with Pachi over that period of time, I greatly enjoyed it. He was really something. You have a great legacy, Ash.
Dr. Mac, thank you.
After this amazing and thought-provoking...
We were having basically about global warming and the cause of global warming, namely CO2 in the atmosphere, and what can be done about it. And here we are, I don't even know how many years later this is. It must be, I don't know, 7 or 8 years later, maybe, some number like that. And the world is still pondering, or not enough of the world, but some of the world is still pondering, what are we going to do with 418 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere when it only needs to have, not only needs to have, but it naturally has about 300. So that whole that whole puzzle, so to speak, is a puzzle that I think that the young people are going to have to deal with more than their adults. Now, of course, it would be very nice if the adults would pick up the ball, but I'm confident that the kids have an opportunity to transcend their parents, and let me say transcend their elders in setting the pace for that change.
After the most amazing and thought-provoking video, may I now request Mr. Rakesh Pachauri, President, TERI Alumni Association, kindly say a few words.
Thank you, Sangeeta. And thank you, Shaili and Dr. Vibhadhavan, for having given us this platform to release this book. It's certainly a wonderful opportunity for the association. I would also like to thank our chairman, Shri Nitin Desai, for having encouraged us all along, and of course with his presence today. Thanks also to Dr. Saroj Pachauri and Ash. Ash, of course, has been a great source of strength and support over the last 1 year, as we've tried to grapple with so many problems in putting this volume together. Thanks also to the great team, Yatin, Jayantan, Amit, and then of course Ravi and the team from the Alumni Association, Prasad, Radhika, Sangeeta herself, the team from TERI Press, Anupma, Rajiv and Aman in putting this book together and bringing out in time, despite the problem we had with COVID in December and January. It is, of course, wonderful that we've been able to bring out this second book, and we hope to put this on the website of the TERI Alumni Association so that it can be freely downloaded by anyone who wants to read it. We would, of course, be sending copies to all the authors who have contributed to this volume. And we do hope that this book will inspire people in the years to come to fight for all the ideals that Dr. Pachauri instilled in us. Thank you very much once again for giving me this opportunity to speak today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pachauri. May I invite Ash once again, just to say for a few seconds, to say a few words about the archives.
Absolutely, it would be a great pleasure. I'd like to announce that the archives have been officially launched. There's a link that will be made available. I think it's going to be accessible via chat, and we'll widely disseminate it. My heartiest congratulations to Shelley, certainly to the entire family at TERI, the team at the library, as well as the IT team that has worked very hard to realize this. And what I want to say about the archives are this is really a living and breathing repository of the work, Dad's lifetime of work. So it's truly a treasure. This is something that had been visualized. Dr. Dhawan, thank you for your leadership, and Shelley for your vision and action to realize it, because there's just a wealth, and that's a very mild word to describe what this is, but the years and years and years of hard work and toil and work that Dad has put together through his lifetime, which has now been organized and made available for everyone to benefit from. And I just want to say, this is what his wish would be. He has always wanted that his words, his values, his vision, and his wisdom be an inspiration to every generation. He's believed in cross-generational dialogue. He's believed in the principles of love and respect, but also believed very much in youth inspired by knowledge. And that was, in fact, the tagline that he wrote up and we continue to use for the pop movement. And this is a living and breathing repository of exactly that. So I just want to say, a wealth of knowledge, a world of knowledge, none of that really begins to describe this. It is a huge library and archive of his life's work, and the greatest tribute, I believe, that we can ever share with Dad. And for all the generations, he shall continue to inspire with his knowledge and his life's work. So thank you very much. This will be made available widely to everyone to benefit from. And these are the many things that will always forever have Dad showing us the way. We do have a website as well, rkpachauri.org, which just sort of encapsulates some of his work and milestones in his life. But we're very grateful to also have permission to post this to his website. And I just want to say that this is a realization of actually something that many of Dad's friends and colleagues have said to me in many conversations we've had, including with Dr. Mark McQuiston, whose conversation we just heard here. It was one of the last things we talked about in our conversation. So I just want to say that this is a realization of something that I think is a great need the world has recognized. So thank you so much for your leadership and for making this happen.
Thank you so much, Ash. And now, may I request Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General TERI, to share a few words with us.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Mr. Desai, our chairman, Dr. Mrs. Pachauri, Ash, Rakesh ji, Sangeeta, Shelley, and all the distinguished personalities who are attending Dr. Pachauri's Memoriam and book release. TERI is Dr. Pachauri's brainchild. It is his vision and forward thinking that TERI is always ahead of time and showing path to the world in terms of where to research on, what are the problems, and so on. All those who are fortunate to have worked with him has imbibed great qualities of honesty, working selflessly towards a cause, discipline, hard work, taking risks. In a way, it is that what qualities a person should have. Dr. Pachauri had those qualities, and many of us who were fortunate enough had worked with him and imbibed part of it, because it's so difficult to say that we have learned from Dr. Pachauri, but then it is only a part of it that we could imbibe. I always wonder how Dr. Pachauri shaped lives of many of us. In fact, it goes that anyone who has met him even once for 10 minutes, they also were impressed with his personality and had some take back. Like I have met so many people and they'll say, we only met him once in so and so conference, but then they have something to add to it. We were and still a large, diverse family always looking at challenges and colleagues working best to their ability. Dr. Pachauri was head of the family, and we all felt secure, not just for our jobs or career, but for everything. You can go and talk to him about your parents, your children, problems with the funding organization. It can be any subject, and he will give you a patient hearing and also tell you what to do and how to do. He had the great quality of not just knowing us, but I'll say our families, our children. And in a way, he welcomed all of us to bring our children on Saturday, and he will always keep chocolates or something. And for most of the children of TERI family, he was Patchy Uncle. And for kids, it was difficult to believe that Patchy Uncle also says that discipline is discipline. So they'll always see the other side of Dr. Pachauri, and that is he's so friendly and he's Patchy Uncle and joking with them and so on. He was great motivator, and I'll say that a quality which not many of us have. I remember his coming to me many a times, and then he'll start with, how is your father, how is your mother, because they were not well for many years, and he'll start with that. And he'll say, I understand it's very difficult, but Vibha, this job is to be done. I know it will cost you a week away from the family, but I think you can do it for 10. So that is the way, in a way, he'll make you feel so important that you have to do it, but at the same time, he's so concerned about your family. The other unique quality was that you can tell him anything. Like if some decision is being taken, we'll fight. I'll say many a times it was something like a fight for 10-15 minutes, not agreeing to how a particular thing is to be done. And in the end, he'll say, we agree to disagree. And I'll tell him, you are the boss. But next day, he'll again come and he'll just sit opposite and he'll say, Vibha, I thought about it. And it can be either. One will be, he'll say, but I still say it is to be done the way I suggested earlier. But once in a while, it also will be other way around, and he'll say, I see merit in what you said. And therefore, he'll change his stand. So that openness is unique to find in leaders. And that's what I'm trying to do. I don't know how successful I will be. Now, the idea of the second book that largely came because there were so many people who started questioning why you haven't invited us to write. And then we had to tell them that the first book was only for TERI or TERI Alumni Association members, and therefore we couldn't do it. So it was a suggestion which came from others who wanted to give tribute to him. So that speaks volume about his personality, that people wanted to write about him when he's gone. And then when you read, and as Mrs. Pachauri had read part of it, each article is written from the heart. It is not that you had to write something. It is written from what they felt about him. I can only say, may his soul rest in peace. And Dr. Pachauri, I know you are always with us and showering your blessings from the heaven. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your sincere and inspirational words and thoughts. Dr. Pachauri's legacy will always live on. On behalf of TERI and WSDS Secretariat, we thank all the distinguished speakers for an insightful discussion. But please stay tuned. The next plenary is a dialogue with Sadhguru on our fragile planet, starting right away. Thank you so much.